Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Well, welcome all my friends to the show that thought they recorded the episode last week or 2 weeks ago and went back and listened to it. Only had Scott's voice. So after a 2-week hiatus, we are back.
Well, and I'm going to be out next week. So it's those summer months, things kind of get sporadic.
Yeah, I was on vacation last week myself, soaking up some rays on the Emerald Coast down in the Gulf of Mexico, as it's still named by those of us who are not mentally ill. But Scott, I'm going to take the starting question today, and this comes from Reddit. They're filling out, something like a Punnett square, right, for baseball. For every position, it has best offensive, best defensive, and then best all around.
Sure.
They're on left field today.
Sure.
And the answer for left field was overwhelmingly one person. I want to know if you can figure out who the consensus greatest offensive left fielder of all time was.
I'm going to go Ted Williams.
You would be correct.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but you know what? Being that as it may.
I was surprised just by the overwhelming magnitude of how many people said Ted Williams, right? Like, I feel like Barry Bonds should be in that conversation, right? When you look at the greatest offensive player, at least of my generation, you can't really argue against Barry Bonds, right? But a lot of people said he probably would be the best overall when you consider defense and things like that in there. But, I mean, you've been watching baseball longer than me. Ted Williams was probably before both of our times. I think it's fair to say in our baseball lifetime, Barry Bonds is the best offensive player we've ever seen.
Yeah, Barry Bonds actually in the Hall of Fame Index comes out in front because I just finished with left fielders actually, this last week. And he is surprisingly good defensively.
He's a gold glover.
Yeah, because I think everybody remembers the 8 hopper that, Sid Bream was able to beat out in playoffs back in, I think it was 91, 92, somewhere around there. So, I mean, everybody thinks Barry Bonds sucks defensively, but no, he didn't. He was very good. So that was probably partially responsible for him being better than Williams. I saw this cherry pick stat. Now, I love these, Tim. Did you know that between 1939 and 1960, when Ted Williams played, he led the major leagues in batting average, home runs, and RBIs?
I didn't. But that just means when Ted Williams played, he was the best player.
Well, but the thing is, how many players played between 1939 and 1960?
A lot, but not an overwhelming amount. Right, yeah.
Not the whole time. I mean, maybe Stan Musials comes closest to being, that level of player. But I hate that when people sit there like Jack Morris had the most wins in the 1980s. Yeah, because he pitched from 1980 to 1989. Roger Clemens didn't start until 83, 84. So, of course, he didn't lead the major leagues in wins.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with Ted Williams, too, you're missing the war years, right? Like, he left to the middle of his prime. But at the end of the day, I mean, Ted Williams is a wonderful hitter, great hitter. Last man to hit 400, right? Like, nothing negative to say about Ted Williams. I just was surprised that it was just so overwhelmingly it's Ted, and there's no way to look at it any other way. Because to me, a guy who gets walked with the bases loaded because giving up 1 run is better than 4 speaks magnitudes to his offensive abilities.
Well, I think what you have is the overwhelming, I hate to say propaganda, but narrative that since he cheated, that none of that counts, including what he did before he started cheating.
Yeah, I've long been a Bonds guy. I'm not afraid to admit it. I liked Barry Bonds for a long time. I have gotten into arguments with people of, never tested positive, all that other stuff. Like, I get it. He did what he did, but he was a 40-40 player with the Pirates, right? Before he even got to the Giants. He was a Gold Glove outfielder. He was a swaggy motherfucker who probably hits 450, 500 homers and steals 500 bases and has a Hall of Fame career, right? Just a regular
the other thing
guy.
Is you're closer to your science classes than I was. Do you know of any link between steroids and strike zone judgment?
I don't. There's no steroid for the eye, Scott.
I'm just saying. I mean, he had about as perfect approach to hitting as you could find.
I saw a video where he was talking about, someone asked him, like, could you still hit 92, 93 today? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, his point was, like, someone's got to catch that pitch, right? Like, there's a catcher back there who his job is to catch it. I'm just trying to catch it with my bat. Like, I'm not trying to necessarily hit it. I'm trying to catch it. And, I mean, I wish I could have heard that at 11 or 12 instead of at 34, where it means nothing to me. But, yeah, I mean, his approach to hitting, his plate discipline, like, yes, he was intentionally walked a lot, but also he was a guy that they try and nibble with a breaking ball just around the zone and hope that he chase and maybe can get a cheap strikeout. Like, Barry wasn't that guy. You didn't get cheap strikeouts out of Barry Bonds. You got he'll take his base, right? He had no problem taking his base, but if you came into his kitchen, he was gonna fucking hit it. And the
way he described it was, with strike 0, he has a little tiny box. The ball's got to be in that little tiny box in order for him to swing. And then, strike 1, box gets a little bit bigger. Strike 2, obviously, it becomes the strike zone. And there are about 15 Astros hitters I wish would take that approach to hitting.
Yeah. Number 1 being our future Hall of Famer, Jose Altuve. Because when he had that approach, Scott, he was the league MVP, right? Like, I don't know if you ever read Astro Ball. It's in the bookshelf here behind me. But they talk about that with Jose. How, like, they went to him and said, hey, here's the part of the plate where you absolutely crush the baseball. Unless there's 2 strikes, you shouldn't be swinging at pitches that aren't in this part of the plate. And he won the fucking MVP that year, and he's gotten away from it.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so I got a question for you before we get started on, I'm assuming, Astros baseball. How much of the U.S. Open did you watch?
Not enough.
Did you watch any of Sunday?
Some. The rain delay kind of messed it up. I was watching it at Top Golf over there, and then I took a little Father's Day nap and woke up and he was sick as putt on 18.
So my question is do you enjoy the kind of golf where everybody's shooting like between 75 and 80, unless you're really having a great round? And even then, you're not shooting below 68, 67. Or do you enjoy watching golf where guys go 60, 61, 62?
I don't like either of those, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I like a U.S. Open to be won at around 9 to 10 under par. Like, if you could shoot 1 or 2 under every day, you have a chance to compete. I don't like most of the guys finishing. Like, I don't want to watch a course turn Scotty Scheffler into a guy who shoots over par, right? Because I think that what's the point there? I credit JJ Spaun, played a great round of golf. He's a competitor. He's been grinding his whole life. The dude walked on in college, has almost lost his card. I commend him for fighting through, right? But Scott, do you feel like the best golfer in the field won this week?
No, but I'm going to get to JJ Spaun later.
And I have nothing but because you have to be ready when the moment comes to you, right?
No.
He was ready. The moment was there to grab, and he grabbed it. But I do feel like the course reared its head in a way that it just wiped out a bunch of competitors.
Well, I'm trying to think, who was it? Was it Clark that was the 54-hole leader? What was his name?
Not Wyndham Clark. He was the one who is no longer allowed back there because he trashed the locker room.
No. Who was his name? I can't remember his name. But I watched pretty much after the rain delay. I watched religiously, and he's sitting there, I think, on 15, and he hits one at the edge of the fairway, and it's very clear. Like when he steps behind the ball, water's coming up. So he asked a rule official on the fairway.
Oh, Sam Burns. Yeah, he got screwed.
Yeah, can I get a drop? No. Ask a second rules official, and you could hear him. Well, if you're standing there, can you see water? No. Well, you're gonna have to hit it. And so what does he do? He basically duck hooks it into the rough, and that's the end of his tournament. Now, obviously, he'd had some bad holes up until that point because he was like maybe 5-6 over for the day coming into that hole. But I mean, if he'd been playing golf-a-thon rules, I'm pretty sure he would have made a 4 on that hole.
Yeah, it was casual water. I think every golf fan in America was like, that's casual water. And that happens, right? That's part of the playing in the elements. I also, fought through 16 wet holes myself on Sunday, Scott. I did what I had to do. But I just think sometimes the U.S. Open, the USGA kind of gets in their own way with purposefully trying to make the course as hard as they possibly can. Where I don't need to see a guy break his wrist in the rough, right? Do you need that? Is that fun for anybody to watch the ball just immediately disappear in the rough and it's so thick and it grabs your club and I don't know. I don't need that for a tournament to be good. I think there's ways to punish people for errant shots, and I think there's ways to protect the golf course. But, after someone like Bryson, who has found a way to drive it and gouge it, they've kind of gone a 180 in the other direction, and they're like, oh, you won't be able to do that here. Cannot do that.
Well, and imagine, what was it, number 7 or number 8, I think? Or was it number 3? The par 3. That's
250 yards, 289.
300 yards. Just play 300 yards. It's I'm staying on the tee. I'm like, I'm fucked.
Is that fun? That's not not golf, man.
I hit a 200-yard shot so I can get to a 100-yard layup.
For me, Scott, I'm a longer golfer, right? I'm a long player. I'm hitting driver on a 300-yard par 3. I'm hitting driver and hope I get a nice rollout. That's insane. That is not acceptable golf. I understand, again, this should be the game's toughest test. I don't disagree with that statement. The US Open should be hard, but I don't need to see a collection of the world's best players just blowing up, right?
Yeah.
That's not fun. It's not fun to have, no offense to the winners, a group of nobodies on the final leaderboard. I would have loved to see Adam Scott find a way to win. I'm a huge Adam Scott guy. I would have loved to see Hovland. I would have loved to see some of these big name guys. And again, I have nothing but, love for JJ Spaun himself, because he personally did what he needed to win. He did what he needed to win. But I just feel sometimes they make the course so hard. There's a span of years where we were getting ridiculous U.S. Open. Chad Campbell winning U.S. Open. Rocco Mediate out of nowhere going toe-to-toe with Tiger because they just wiped out the whole field with Torrey Pines that year, right? Retief Goosen winning multiple U.S. Open. They just made the courses so ridiculous that, I don't feel like they were fair tests of golf.
So I rewatched a movie I'm sure that you watched, The Greatest Game Ever Played.
Oh, Francis Ouimet.
And I'm still with that third round that they played. I'm like, what
In the
fuck?
rain?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? It's like, what the? I got to hit it through this puddle. I was like, what the fuck?
And they get stymies going there? Oh,
yeah,
man.
well, that makes sense. I mean, who would have think to mark a ball, you know? I mean, I love how they're showing how they teed it up, you know, because they don't have golf
The sand.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic. I like that one, Scott. But yeah, I don't want the course to be that hard. Like, I just feel like then you get a last man standing kind of winner versus someone who legit won. That's like, I feel like, again, did he win it or was he the one who didn't lose it? Right? To me, that's kind of the way when the course sets up like that. That's how the overall feeling I have towards the U.S. Open when it's overly hard like that is, did we really have someone who won it, or did someone just not lose this week?
Yeah. So I do have breaking news as we move on to our next topic.
Are we going Astros breaking news? Is this our new free agency signing?
Yeah, we have a trade.
Yeah, the trade for a first baseman.
Wes Clark.
I think that's just to fill in our AAA roster at this point. Like, and that's why the title for this Astros section is injuries mounting. Half of our AAA roster is on the major league roster right now. Like, I think the Astros just need like decent minor league depth at this point.
They did recall.
They made some trades.
They did recall Shea Whitcomb, so he was not down long. I don't know. See, and in my opening question with the Astros, and I know this came out earlier last week, and so we didn't get a chance to chew on this, but, you know, we can today. Dana Brown was doing his customary spot on 790 in the morning, I think, with Sean Salisbury. I don't listen to 790 because I don't like any of their shows.
That's an affront to Matt Thomas. I take that personally.
Okay, Matt Thomas excluded, but I don't like Sean Salisbury. I don't like Adam and Adam. So I don't listen.
I know Adam Clanton personally. I interned with him. He's a fine gentleman. But other than that, yeah, he used to do some really funny impersonation bits back in the day when he was on 1560 when no one listened to that radio station. They still don't listen to that radio station.
Yeah, so Dana Brown said that, quote, he thinks we have a World Series roster right now. So I'll throw that question to you, Tim. Do you see us having a World Series roster right now?
I mean, it depends. I'll give him a caveat. I'll give him an out. And that's if, like, he's counting on getting Christian Javier back, if he's counting on getting Luis Garcia back, if he's counting on getting Spencer Getty back, then okay, I can see that statement. I can see that statement. The way that we're currently built and who's healthy, with no Jordan, with none of the pitchers that I mentioned, with Lance McCullers now having another injury, this time at least to the leg, not the arm. No, I don't see this as a World Series roster. Like, you need help. You need major league arms, like, badly, really fucking badly right now.
Well, and I think the thing that kills me is, and I would compare it to, Tim, actually, obviously there's some significant differences, but this looks a lot like the 2005 squad. In that
was one of the worst offensive teams to ever make the World Series.
Yes, you had a really good pitching staff. I mean, you had some Hall of Famers in that pitching staff, and I'm going to say plural because I would vote for Andy Pettitte, and I would definitely vote for Roger Clemens. But yeah, that offense was terrible, but you still made it to the World Series. So when I say this is not a World Series roster, that doesn't mean that, no, they can't make it to the World Series. It just means that they would need a lot of things to break their way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to, like, if you don't make any moves right now, that means that, and you make the World Series, to me, that means that someone got healthy, right? Like to me, that Javier's back or something along those lines. Someone's back and pitching well, and Jordan got healthy, right? Like to me, that's the path to playoff success: is a healthy Jordan and getting either arms back from the IL or going to get an arm or two, because like outside of Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, it's going to take Lance time to ramp up again. You know, who do you have that you can truly count on in this rotation? Like when Aaron Getty comes back, hopefully him. But like, geez, man, like you're not set up for a 7-game series right now.
No, and the thing is, I think Jordan is, I think, the bigger key than any of the arms, because if you stack us up against the Tigers, who are the top team in the American League. Number one, I think they have an advantage at manager. But I think they've got more hitting. Jordan is the only guy that I think could, I mean, like the Seattle series in 2022, he wrecked the whole series. I mean, he pretty much he won games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And he basically got Scott Service fired, although it didn't come until later. But I think that series got Scott Service fired. Well, with the Yankees, Aaron Judge is that guy that can wreck shop. I mean, right now, I don't know if there's anybody in baseball who's playing better than Aaron Judge. But you take Jordan off this team, who is the offensive player that could literally take over a series on the Astros?
I feel crazy saying this. Well, I mean, I think there's two. One's based on historical past, and that's Jose Altuve, right? Like we've seen Jose just go off in a series. And then Jerry Pena.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've seen Pena rise. Pena won the fucking World Series MVP.
Yeah.
Like Pena hit a walk-off home run in the 18th inning of that Mariners series.
Yeah.
And I could also see a world where Paredes gets hot and he could win you a series with some Crawford box shots.
I don't know that Pena wrecks shop. I think Pena is a different. He's probably a better, more valuable baseball player than Jordan. I mean, I think he's second in the American League in WAR. But that's probably primarily because he gives you both the offense, the defense, and the base running. All rolled into one.
But if he's your leadoff hitter and he hits 450 and he's got a couple bombs and extra base hits and he could. George Springer won World Series MVP as a leadoff hitter, right? And he didn't wreck the series the way that Jordan did, but he still had his imprint on the series and made his presence known.
I think the problem with this team is you look at them, and I was thinking about this today. If you look at a 9-person lineup, I would say that we have 3 hitters that are overachieving based on expectations. We have 3 hitters that are basically at expectations, and 3 hitters below. Now let's see if you can name those groups of 3. See if we agree.
So over, I'm going to say Jake Myers, Pena, and Paredes.
Yep.
At expectation is Jose Altuve.
Yep.
I guess Yiner.
No.
So then are you giving Cam Smith at expectation?
Yeah, I don't think he's doing worse than what we would expect.
Okay. And then Dubon is at expectation?
Probably Dubon. So you got Walker.
And then Walker's below and Yiner.
Walker's below, Yiner's below. And I'm trying to think who am I missing? Oh, and Jordan.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's your guys. Now, out of that group, and this is my issue. Out of that group, I could see Yiner bouncing back to being where he's expected. I could see Christian Walker bouncing back to around where he's expected. And I could see Jordan bouncing back to where he's expected. But see, the thing is, the guys on top, I could see Pena falling back. I could see Myers falling back. And I could see Paredes falling back. So that would end up being a wash.
I mean, I could see all those things, but also at the same time, think Pena's hard hit ball rate would speak otherwise, right? Like, I don't think this is a guy who's getting cheap base hits right now. He's smacking the baseball hard. So that's a sign to me, at least, that like guys seeing it well, swinging the bat well this season. The Astros identified Paredes last year as a guy that they thought would benefit from hitting in their ballpark, and it's pretty clear that they were right on that. So I don't necessarily think he maybe continues to hit 260 for average, but I do think the pop and the walks are going to stay there. And then Myers, yes.
I don't think any of them necessarily go in the point. Like, I don't think Pena is going to suddenly wind up 250 at the end of the year. I think by the end of the year, he'll hit 280, 290, which for Pena, compared to years past, is an overall improvement. I think Myers will end up hitting about 250, which compared to years past is an overall improvement. And I think Paredes will probably end up around 30 bombs, which is an overall improvement. But it's not going to be to the level that they've hit to this point, is basically what I'm saying.
The season ebbs and flows, right? Like, you're going to get hot, you're going to get cold. I tend to agree with most of the numbers. I think Jake probably ends up 265-ish maybe. I think Pena right around 300, and I think 250 with 30 bombs is pretty accurate for Paredes. But again, health is a factor. Paredes luckily is already back in the lineup, but we saw him go down momentarily. I don't know how much more this team could take, right? Like, you and I were joking the other day, but like, since Rex Jones retired after the 2015 season, this has not been a healthy ball club by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like, whatever they are doing in the training room is not working to me. Carlos Correa had constant injury struggles during his time here. Like, that was constantly going on. Lance McCullers, constant injury issues. Justin Verlander had injury issues. Garcia, Javier, and Urquidy. Like, the Astros have, and this year's even more insane. Like, everybody is hurt. And so, obviously some of them are freak, right? Like, Aaron Geddes is a freak injury. But, Scott, are you, like, if you're Jim Crane, are you looking at if you're the trainer, are you feeling a hot seat right now?
I would hope so. But then again, you had some other freak injuries. Like, who hasn't twisted their ankle turning around? You've probably done it how many times?
A lot, actually, sadly.
I was just joking. I fell down the stairs the other day, and I thought I was going to be on the DL for a solid week. But actually, I bounced back. Everything was fine. But yeah, and I think what I've heard explained is that the Astros' emphasis on spin rate has probably been maybe partially responsible for the damage to the arms. And so then that begs the question, do you like the trade-off? Because obviously there is a trade-off. Like, who in the hell is Sean Dubin? Really?
Yeah, that's fair.
Who is Caleb Ward? Who is Brian King? Stephen O'Kurt. But obviously what they're telling these guys is making them harder to hit. But at the same time, is making them more susceptible to injuries.
I don't disagree with that. And I think, obviously the data would back it up. And I've seen, guys like Goose Gossage talk about, their wind up and how it relieves some pressure on the arms versus today. It's all about short, quick, compact, high spin, all that kind of stuff. So I don't disagree with that. But maybe I wish the approach was more for like relievers, or you could turn them in and out a little bit more. But like all of our, Scott, you've got Blanco, Aaron Geddes, Javier, and
Wesneski,
and you've got a whole fucking rotation on the IL right now for your starting rotation. You have 5 legitimate starters on the IL, all basically having had Tommy John.
JP France, yeah. Although actually, technically, I don't know if Blanco's was TJ. When I looked it up, they actually reported something else, something similar. Of course, I don't know what that's going to do with recovery time.
Okay. You've got five. I'll say this. You've got
they're out for the year.
Starters who have had elbow, shoulder surgery, something of those nature, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would say, like, I don't know. Do you think this approach is working? If on a health perspective, you have to say no, right? Like, you're getting all of your best pitchers injured frequently, and your trainers have a hard time getting them back quickly healthy.
On the flip side, though, Tim, if you go back to 2015, which is when this run really got started, what has been the one constant for this franchise?
Pitching.
So that's 10 seasons, 11 seasons, with 2020 being kind of a fluke year kind of thrown in. But if you remove 2020, that's 10 baseball seasons where you've probably had a top 5 major league staff in 8 or 9 of them. So you tell me it's not working.
I don't disagree. But at what point do free agents go, I don't want to go there because their approach gets guys hurt?
Well, I mean, I think if you're a free agent, you can go one of two routes. You can go, I'm going to sign for 1 year, hope that whatever they teach me gives me a career season, and I somehow come out healthy. Or I'm going to blow it out the top end, sign 7 or 8 years, and then who the fuck cares?
But we're not going to sign you for 7 or 8 years.
Well, right. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem, right? So, like with Fromber, realistically, I just don't see them signing him long term. Because if you're Fromber, why should you take any less than what Max Fried got?
You shouldn't. I mean, maybe a touch, just because like Max Fried has also had a phenomenal year after signing that deal, right? Like,
sure, but
I would say Max Fried's a little, and I love Fromber. I think Max Fried is a little bit better of a pitcher than Fromber.
Well, but historically, I would say they're probably neck and neck. And Fromber's a different kind of pitcher, where I don't think that he's not a heavy strikeout guy. So sabermetrically, they don't love him. But you tell me a guy that you could see getting 200 innings easier than Fromber in Major League Baseball.
I mean, other than Verlander in his prime, not many, right? Like you book Fromber for 6 every night, like your life
at least, right? He's a guy that goes 7 or 8 fairly routinely. And I think that's the difference. Like if you were going to compare him with Hunter Brown, you were to say, who's the best Astros, pitcher? I mean, obviously Hunter Brown's numbers across the board are better except for innings because Fromber just goes longer into games.
I think, many of the best pitchers too, and when I talk to guys, obviously they're not the best, but former big leaguers who were in clubhouses when I worked in independent ball, they would tell you those guys don't necessarily care as much about ERA, right? Like the best pitchers in baseball, they care about innings. Because if you're throwing a lot of innings, the odds are they're good innings, right? Like you're not going out there and getting 7 innings if you gave up 5 runs through the first 5, right? Like typically they're going to pull your ass. So if you're throwing 225, 230 innings a year, typically that means you're pitching pretty darn well, right? And so it's not the case as much anymore, but, early to mid 2000s into like 2010, 2012, that was how a lot of the best guys looked at it. If I'm getting 200 plus innings, that means I'm pitching the way I need to be pitching.
Yeah, and I think that's where Fromber is at. I think the difference between Fromber and Brown is I think Brown has more outings where he clearly he's not locating his stuff, but I think his stuff is so pure and so good, he's able to navigate those outings and give up maybe 1 or no runs, but only pitch 5 innings. Whereas Fromber, he has that maybe once a month where he's shit.
Yeah.
But then after that, like he's fine, and so he's got an ERA in the low 3s, but you're looking at him and it's like, 80-90% of the time, he's Ace Fromber. It's just that one time out of 10 where he's just dog shit.
Yeah, that every now and then he's just got a random start where like he cannot figure out the run on that two-seamer, right? Like it's running either too far or he thinks it's okay. Now he adjusts thinking it's going to run a bit more, and then it just sits right over the middle of the plate and he gets shellacked. The walks start piling up, like then you see him get pissed off, and then the emotions start tumbling. And yeah, I hope the Astros do sign Fromber long term. I think he's a guy whose game ages well. I tend to agree with you that the way the Astros have treated the purse strings, it tends to make me feel like it won't happen. But again, you've got 5 pitchers that aren't going to be ready to go at the start of next year. So you got to do something. But let's talk a little bit about your Houston Texans, okay? Because there's a lot of hubbub about one CJ Stroud not throwing. Well, now he's back throwing. And, he basically just wants everybody to shut the fuck up, right? Like, he would never say that. But I think as a city, we've let really the Astros' mismanagement of injuries taint us into maybe overreacting into the CJ Stroud situation.
Well, yeah, I think the fact that he got the crap beat out of him in that Kansas City game, what was that, like 8 sacks in that divisional playoff? I mean, and he's had shoulder problems in the past from dating back to his Ohio State days. There are 2 major Texan stories, though. One good, one maybe not so good. So where do you want to start first? Do you want to go bad news?
I'm a good news guy.
Good news guy. So Nick Chubb's a Texan.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think of that one?
I liked it. I think it's a win. It's a low risk, high reward move for the Texans. Give you a little nice change of pace back for Mixon. Knowing what we know with Dameon Pierce, that he's just unfucking playable in this offense. I think he's got a strong 1-2 punch if he's healthy at the end of the day.
I know you got to hope that eventually. I mean, they were able to spend Cam Akers into a draft pick, so you got to hope that maybe somebody would give like a 2028 or 29 7th or 6th rounder for Pierce, and give you some draft equity in exchange for that. Because I think there are some offenses where Pierce would work. This is clearly not this one. Although, I mean, it's Nick Caley's offense. It's potentially a new offense. So who the hell knows? I love it because it's $2.5 million, low base salary. So if he's done, you just cut him, let him go. But I don't think he will be done. I think he's gonna. If he's a 5 to 10 carry guy, maybe 2 series a game, I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I think he's a good change of pace, right? And also Mixon missed 3 games last year, right? Like in those 3 games, the offense really struggled. This team is different when it can run the ball. And even if he's 12 carries a game, right? And Mixon's 18, 20 carries a game, I'm fine with that. Like I don't need CJ Stroud throwing it 35 times a game, right? Like if we're running it and we're running it effectively and keeping the chains moving, you've got 2 big receivers on the outside and 2, good over the middle options after the draft and free agency, right? So play action, get some crossing opportunities, get some deep shots. Like if you're running the ball well, that just opens up so much more for the CJ Stroud offense.
All right, so I don't know if I'm stepping on any toes here, but Jimmy Ward is obviously the other part of the news. I don't know if he's going to be featured in a future segment, but what do you think of that one? I don't know if you heard any details.
I haven't heard a lot. I've heard some. I've heard a lot. There's been a small faction of fans that are saying we need to let this play out a little bit, just based on the county that he was arrested in. Doesn't exactly treat black men very fairly. So that's part of it.
Facts.
I don't want to, I'm not just going to go, oh, racist cops, right? Like, I'm not doing that. There's obviously some sort of incident where the police were called. But I don't want to rush to judgment and just say that, hey, he's definitely guilty. I do want to say, like, hey, he probably needs to be suspended and away from the team until everything's out, right? Like, I don't necessarily need him around the team at this point. You know, a lot of people thought the Gardner Johnson trade was going to make Ward expendable, and then they ended up extending him. So I don't know, between Gardner Johnson and Bullock, I feel like those should be your two starting safeties right there, right?
Yeah, I think, and I have an article dropping tomorrow on this. Basically, I've already commented on Ward more directly. If you look at the history of the league, there has been a handful of guys that have had similar charges. Well, I'm not even going to say charges, similar arrest, and some of them have not been charged criminally. The charges were dropped, or the victim recanted, whatever the case may be. They were still suspended between 4 and 6 games. So Ward's going to be suspended. So and what I liked about having Ward up until before this is, let's say Kalen Bullock or Gardner Johnson go down. Who's your backup safety?
That's a good question.
I mean, they drafted a guy in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So maybe he's that guy. Jalen Smith. And I hate to compare him to anybody because this name that I compare him to is kind of the kiss of death for Texans fans. But he kind of reminds me a little bit of Eric Murray.
Okay.
In that he can play both safety and corner. He's probably not going to play either of them well enough to start, but he could be a first guy off the bench at both spots.
Those guys are valuable, right? Those guys have a need on the roster. So, the Texans have that swarm mentality, the next man up mentality. And if Jimmy Ward's gone, then yeah, Jalen Smith is going to have to step up. But it'll be interesting to see how they use Petrie too, right? Because technically he's one of your safeties. Is he going to be obviously a more in the box player with Gardner Johnson and Bullock high, right? Is that how they're going to play it, with him more as a linebacker? Is he? Technically you have 3 safeties there, right? With Gardner Johnson, with Petrie, with Bullock, you've got 3. Petrie's not a strong cover guy, right? I think you and I would both agree.
Yeah.
You don't want him back there playing center field. I think you're fine with him maybe on a linebacker as on a tight end, as a kind of maybe a tight end killer, or playing down in the box to stop the run on some of the certain sub packages. But I'm intrigued, right? There's so many pieces. The Texans secondary is like, we could throw a lot of different junk at you, right? It's like Harris, the pitcher from Major League, just throwing everything with the kitchen sink at you.
Mardall, Badgersill. I think that's the other spot that kind of worries me is who's your backup corner?
It's a great question. We'll get there.
It would not surprise me if they made another signing before camp, just to get another body in there.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, they're doing their due diligence, right? They brought in several running backs before they went with Chubb. I think McHasty was one that brought in, the former Jacksonville Jaguar.
And the cap cleared out a little bit because it was kind of a story that people forgot about, but they actually designated Shaq Mason a post-June 1st cut. And so his money did not officially clear until June 2nd. So up until Chubb was signed, they were at $16 million under the cap. And I guess that's going to be probably $12 or $13 million under the cap. And they usually like to keep about $10 million cash on hand, in case, whatever happens.
Yeah.
So, can you find a guy out there for $2 or $3 million? I would think
probably. So. Yeah. I think there's still some value to be had out there. But what do you say we give some awards out, Scott? I think we'll start with just a POW, right in the Kisser Award this week. Scott, who do you want to It's just pow, right in the kisser.
You know, I'm saying this metaphorically, Tim. Completely metaphorically. I want everybody to listen to me and understand this is metaphorical. But have you seen what Angel Reese has done?
No.
She is trying to trademark me bounds.
She's trying to what?
Trademark it.
Rebounds?
Me bounds.
Oh my God. Is that like when you miss a shot and get your own rebound? It's called a rebound?
That's where people have accused her of she's leading the NBA in rebounding because she's rebounding her own about 3 or 4 times a game. And actually, you know, the stats back that up. And I talked about I don't want to – I hate people that are making it about race because it's not about race. But have an ounce of self-awareness. The whole me bound thing is making fun of you. I mean, that would be like, what's the worst nickname you could think of for Trump?
Motherfucker. I mean, I don't know.
Well, like I've heard like
orange fuck.
I've heard like, you know, like Oompa Loompa.
If Greg Abbott decided to trademark Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, or something like where he's Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels.
Where he, I mean, it's like, dude, or in this case, dudette, have an ounce of self-awareness. So metaphorical, I do not condone or any about violence against women. So this is completely metaphorical.
Mm-hmm. I kind of get it though. Right? Like steer into the skid. If they're laugh with them. Don't let them laugh at you. Right? Like if you guys are going to talk all about it, like fuck it. I'll make a t-shirt that say me bounds on it. You dumbasses will buy it. Right? Like, I don't know. I could see why you would go about it that way. All right. Who am I punching in the face this week, Scott? I would like to give a smack to the guy who runs the chair and umbrella setup at the Holiday Beach Resort in Destin. Okay? Let me paint the picture. 5:30 in the morning. I'm out there. 3 chairs, 2 umbrellas, packed like a fucking mule. And this son of a bitch already has a row of umbrellas out there. So that means I got to get up fucking earlier because my dad has to be in the front row. And then this guy's up earlier. And every fucking day it was a competition of who's going to get out there first. Who's going to claim that front row. There's plenty of beach for everybody, man. Just set your fucking umbrellas up. Leave a little space in there for the people like ourselves that bring our umbrella. I'm on vacation. I don't need to be racing you to the beach every morning trying to claim a little real estate just so I can watch my kids swim in the ocean. Like, what are we doing? We're a small resort. We don't need that much of a race to the fucking beach. This guy, I get it. You got a job to do. But you know what? Like, we're on vacation. I shouldn't have to be up at 5:30 in the morning to get a spot on the fucking beach on a private beach that's only for our resort, which only has like 50 total rooms. It's 500 yards of private beach. It is fucking insane that I deal with this guy every year.
Wow. Well, that's an every year thing.
Every year, because my dad refuses second row. So he has to beat that guy out there. And so like day 1, that guy's typically like, he'll get out there at 5:45, right? So my dad got him. But day 2, now he's like, oh, that guy's out there at 5:30. I'll be there at 5:25. By the end of it, my dad was out there at like 4:50. My dad's out there like 4:50 in the morning claiming real estate.
Oh, man, that's rough.
And you can't do it the night before. They have a no overnight policy.
Oh, man, Tim.
Yeah, the things we do for our children, Scott.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, who do you have for a horse's ass this week?
You know what? I'm going to go to we talked about them earlier. I am 120% agreement with you. I'm going USGA. as my horse's ass. I don't. I like to see guys struggle on a golf course every now and then because it makes me know that they're human. Like seeing Rory drop it in the water on 13 in the Masters, you're like, yeah, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
That looks familiar. And then I got to play 13 at Tour 18, and I actually almost did the same thing, but still made my par because I was able to find the ball dry and chip up in one putt. But you say, okay, this stuff happens. But my God, when the guy's in the fairway, he's in the damn fairway, and you can't give him relief. Like at Golfathon rules, that guy probably would have shot 67 because we bump everywhere. The only place you can't bump is a bunker and a water hazard. It's the only two places you can't bump. And we'll even play it like if you're a yard out of bounds, yeah, that's not OB. Just kind of bump it back in. It'll be fine. But I'm sorry that 6-inch rough. That's just you can. And the thing is that the USGA does this too. The greens where the stent meters are out of their fucking mind. Have you heard the story about Lee Trevino at Wingfoot?
I haven't. No. So
this is back like I want to say 70, 71, somewhere around there. He went out and started putting in the parking lot. And so the reporter's like, well, why do you do it? And he said, this is the only place I could find that simulate the speed of the greens.
I mean,
they end up
if you're going to have greens like that, you have greens like that, and then you have conditions that won't allow the ball to hold, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's my point, is that why do you need 6-inch rough? If you're in the rough, if you're in normal rough, how many golfers can spin it out of normal rough?
Not a ton. Not when the greens are that hard, that fast.
That's what I'm saying. Is that so? If you had 2 or 3-inch rough, which is normal rough, you're still gonna. If you're out of the fairway, you're still gonna be penalized with the way they set up the greens.
Or how about a first cut, and then you can still have that 6-inch rough. But does it need to be an inch off the fairway?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it was the most I told you about the hole I played at Tour 18 where I went off the car. I mean, I drove it through the fairway, and the out of bounds was like 4 feet from the cart path.
Yeah,
and I was like, what the hell? I mean, I hit the ball straight, and I hit it OB.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on the USGA. Sometimes I think the pressure of the moment should be the hardest part of some of these majors, right? Like as you mentioned with Roy, it was the pressure of the moment that has him dropping shots, right? Like Augusta's probably the easiest quote unquote of all the majors that you play. Right? You play the same course every year, you know the layout, you know it like the back of your hand, and you're still in that moment. When you have the lead coming down 13, you dip a wedge just a little bit and it's ended up in the water. Then you got to find a way up and down. You got to make birdie down the stretch. You don't have to overdo it with the golf course. The moment itself will be the hardest part of winning the major. You shouldn't have to fight the course to that level. Again, I'm okay with having a tough course. I'm okay with having that thick rough. If you blast it 40 yards right of the fairway. But if you miss the fairway by a foot, that shouldn't be the penalty.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to sound sacrilegious, but I enjoy and always have enjoyed the British Open more than the U.S. Open.
Absolutely.
Because I love link style golf. You have to be creative. And the thing I love about Augusta as well is that there are holes out there where if you make a mistake, double, triple, quad is easily in play. But there are holes out there where if you hit good golf shots, you can make birdie or eagle. Yeah. And those are the kinds of tournaments that I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching it where you have the pressure, but you reward good golf shots.
And I don't feel like the U.S. Open, the way it was constituted this year, rewarded good golf shots. I really don't. I feel like the greens were too hard. They got away from them. Oakmont's a hard course as it is. It's like if you choose Bethpage Black, right? Do you really need to trick it out that much? It's already one of the hardest golf courses in the world. Just play the course. Like, show off the course. Play the course. You can do what you need to do to the greens, but you can't do both. Like you have to have a way to make it around that course. So it's an enjoyable watch. Watching guys go on bogey trains isn't fun.
The worst one I saw was when Tom Kite won U.S. Open. It was like it was in the 90s. It was at Pebble Beach. And I think he finished one over and won the U.S. Open. Because Pebble Beach, think about this. USGA, tight fairways, hard greens, high wind. How do you do that? How do you do that?
You can't unless you're Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I mean Tiger. Yeah, obviously. But then, I mean, obviously, that's the best of options where the best golfer wins, which is what you want.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. My horse's ass this week are going to be UFC and anybody else who decided to be a sponsor of the Trump birthday parade. We are so goddamn dangerously close to the movie Idiocracy. It's not even funny. But now we've got corporate sponsorships of a military parade. I can't imagine what the PR. I mean, I get it. You know what? Like most of the UFC viewership probably are pro-Trump guys, but still, like, is putting your logo up there for an empty parade really the look that your brand needs? Where's your PR people? Where is anybody going, hey, Joe Rogan, no, thank you, Dana White. We don't want to do this. This is a bad look. Instead, they just run it out there, and that's why I don't watch UFC. They're run by a bunch of fucking idiots.
My favorite part of the parade is basically the military did their own kind of silent protest. I don't know if
they all marched out of sync and stuff.
Yeah, because they know how to march. I mean, that's like what they like boot camp 101. So we have a fan of our show I work with who teaches criminal justice. And so we constantly joke back and forth. And so I kind of did the whole left, right, left as it's stated. And so I went left foot, then right, then left, But my God, I mean, I'll have more on this when we get to the final segment of the show, but it's laughable at this point.
Yeah, nothing like outward corporate sponsorship of the United States government and military. Gotta love it. Gotta fucking love it. I hope to see Coca-Cola have their logo on some of our new B-52 bombers that are being built, right? Like, what would be better than have a Coke with your bomb? Like, fuck yeah, dude.
Standing in Iran, seeing the bomb kind of landing on you, and the last thing you see is Coca-Cola. Oh, it's fantastic.
Or we start dropping Cokes with the bombs, right? Like, honestly, if you get hit with a can of Coke from like hundreds of feet in the air, you're probably going to die. So like, it's just another, like, we don't have to take out the whole block. Now we just drop a bunch of cans of Cokes and just like fucking people die from a dent in the head.
Or it bounces off the ground. They're like, hey, a Coke. Oh, shit, a bomb.
No! A Coke! No!
Oh, brother.
All right. Nothing like a corporate sponsorship of your military. All right, Scott, who are you tipping a cap to this week?
I don't know if we're sharing it this week, but I think I have to go J.J. Braun. I think, and I don't know if you picked up on this part of the story. You mentioned some of the backstory where he'd had some back problems. He walked on to his college team, and he thought he was done with golf. And he was on a flight, I think, from Hawaii, they said. And he watched a movie about a guy that ended up competing at Wimbledon after struggling, with injuries of his own. And he said that inspired him, to give golf one more, at least competitive golf, one more shot. And I think, and I wanted to shout this out to all the leagues. So the PGA Tour, number one, but NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL. I think the NFL does this better than anybody, but you can market any of your teams. You can market any of your players. If you can't market that story from J.J. Braun,
Spaun.
Spaun, excuse me. Did you see how many people tried to qualify for the U.S. Open?
Mm-hmm.
It is the most democratic. I love that line from Tin Cup. It's the most
democratic of all the tournaments.
Even if a stripper's signing your checks, you could still, you could still try to.
Anyone with a handicap.
But I mean, it's just it's that part of the U.S. Open is great. That part, we were watching the Francis We Met, story, earlier in the show, which I love the fact it's a true story, played by a Hollywood scumbag. Wasn't a scumbag back then, but
I don't know if he's a scumbag.
He's kind of he's some people say so, but I love the story.
He was an abused Disney kid.
I love watching, that 64-footer, I think it was, on 18. Yeah. Longest sunk punt of the entire tournament by the champion on the 72nd hole. I mean, that's just a fantastic way to finish it off. I too was kind of rooting for some other guys. I was rooting for Haviland at the end. I was actually rooting for the leader just because I don't want to. I hate seeing John Vandervelde's kind of played themselves out, and he ended up shooting I think a 78 on Sunday. I mean, that's just rough. I never want to see that, but great tournament by this guy. Who knows if he'll ever win again? But the U.S. Open trophy won't look bad on the hood of that car.
No, and to hear him talk about how he told his kids, we get to stay up late tonight, right? Hey, we can stay up past your bedtime tonight. It's a special night. I'm as a dad, that one hits, right? That's one of the special things about the U.S. Open is that it always finishes up on Father's Day. And there's always some great heartwarming story, right? There are very few of us who didn't learn this game from one of our parents. And so definitely love those moments. Definitely love all of that. I will accept your hat tip, but I'm also going to throw one for Cam Smith. This is a guy who has just, to me, you had him in the meets expectation. I think he's exceeded expectations for a large part of the season. He's been one of the best defensive right fielders in the game.
That part, yes.
And offensively, he's been good, right? Is he a world beater right now? No. But this is a guy that you threw out there with little to no, minor league experience, nothing above AA, goes straight to the major leagues, is hitting around 250, gets a walk-off game-winning base knock the other night on just what's a good piece of hitting, right? The middle of the field was wide open. Cam Smith doesn't try and do too much. He just sends the ball right back up the middle and gets the game-winning knock. So I commend and tip my cap to Cam Smith for just continuing to rise to the challenge, right? Anytime there's been a little bit of a lull, it seems to me like he's found out what they're doing to get him out, and he's changed what his approach is, or he's found a way to adapt to the way people are adapting to him. So I really, really happy to see the growth of Cam Smith and tip my cap to him for that walk-off base hit.
Yeah, he's on pace to be a Gold Glove right fielder. So definitely defensively, he is far exceeding, I think, what anybody expected. I actually am going to have an article come out Friday on Crawfish. And so I'll pose this question to you. I'm going to compare him to Wyatt Langford.
Okay.
And there's two things where he's different from Wyatt Langford in his rookie season. So I want to ask you, which one of these things do you think comes for him next? Langford had a little bit more power. So do you think power's coming next? Or Langford was able to make a little bit more contact? I think his strikeout rate was 20%. Cam Smith's is 28%. So do you see the strikeouts coming down first, or do you see the power coming first?
I think I see the power first. I think we see maybe some more aggressive swings. The strikeout percentage will probably stay a little higher for a year or two, and then that'll come down too. But this kid's got so much raw natural power that like you might just see the better contact and the power goes up with it, right? Like he's got pop to all fields, and once the contact rate gets into those 18 to 20%, the strikeout rate is in that 18 to 20% range. Bring it down. I think you just get more pop out of him because he does have that natural power. But I do think like Springer, right? Like Springer showed the power earlier before we found a way to be a 280, 290 hitter.
Well, like when you looked at his heat map at the start of the season, and that just kind of points out to what you were saying, the 3 zones on the outside were all blue. And then now if you look at it, that top outside zone is now red. So basically that high outside pitch, he's figured out how to hit it. So if he can figure out a way to get neutral, middle out, I think low and away, I don't know a major league hitter who's good hitting the ball low and away. But I think if you could get him to where he's maybe taking that pitch that's middle out to right field with authority, I think he'll start getting more pitches in the middle and in the inside where he can turn on them and go deep.
I agree. Again, he's ahead of schedule though, right? Like there's one of your, we'll call them colleagues at the Crawfish Boxers who said that this was one of the worst decisions the Astros could make. They're stymieing his development, right? Well, that's proven to be wrong. That's the article you need to write. Is look at me now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Yeah.
I think that article should come out, and I'd love that you could tag the guy in it and say, hey, John, how you like these apples? But no, I mean, realistically, this has been, in my opinion, the best his rookie season could have gone for him. Because I don't think he was the kind of prospect who's going to come up here and have a Mike Trout kind of rookie season, right? Like that wasn't him. I think there was a greater risk that he hit $150 and you sent him back down. So the fact that he's had some struggles, he's overcome them, he's contributed defensively, he's found ways to get hits in big moments. Or if you look at some of these comebacks the Astros have had, if you look in the breakdown of what happened in the innings, a lot of times with a runner on first and 1 out, Cam Smith gets a base hit and now it's first and third. Or runner on second and 2 outs, Cam Smith gets a walk and the next guy gets a big knock, right? Like Cam Smith has been very much in the heart of a lot of these explosions, late in games that the Astros have had. He hasn't always had the go-ahead hit, but he's had a lot of at-bats that put the Astros in position to take the lead. And again, just tip my cap to him for taking advantage the other night with that walk-off.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, time for that final award. We do have some other segments coming up, but the final award, our scumbag of the week.
I am going to go with Utah Senator Mike Lee.
That's a good one.
And here's the thing, right? So I had a Facebook post that I ended up responding to in my last Substack, where the whole thing is, come on, nobody's going to these No Kings rallies. The only people that are there are being paid because Trump is just hugely popular, and all the talk about him being unpopular is just fake news and all this, that. And it's like, wake up and smell the bullshit. But Mike Lee, so what is Mike Lee my nominee for? We had 2 people in Minnesota get killed by an act of political violence. It was a Trump supporter dressed up like a cop who shoots 2 people dead, injures 2 others. And you know this story, Tim. What did Mike Lee say?
That they are killed by radical left Democrats?
That on Wall Street after Governor Tim Walz.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And we saw the same thing when Nancy Pelosi's husband got beat up. It's like at some point, humanity has to come in. Was it Steve Scalise? Was he the one that was shot up at the the congressional softball game, the Republican?
I think so. Yeah.
Did you see any Democrats doing victory laps?
No.
I mean, oh, one of them got it. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, we got Joni Ernst sitting there talking about, yeah, everybody's going to die. Might as well die sooner. Tick-tock. I'm looking at my watch. Hey, you poor bastard. Time for you to die. I mean, who the hell are these people? And why do people keep voting for them?
Because they're hateful sons of bitches too. If you read my newest Substack, they're either ignorant or evil, maybe a little bit of both. All right, Scott. My scumbag of the week is Adam Silver, and this is going to be dual faceted. First, I heard Adam Silver recently talking about how jealous he was of the NFL because it doesn't matter what team makes the Super Bowl, and everybody's excited for it, even if it's Pittsburgh and Green Bay, right? There's no small market teams. Number one, that's on you, right? Like, that is on you. You've got young, marketable stars in this NBA Finals. Tyrese Halliburton is a star. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a star.
MVP of the league. He's the MVP of the league.
Yeah, you've got what you need. You've got young, exciting basketball teams. And you're telling me you can't do anything with that? You're telling me that that's not good enough just because of the city that they're located in? Get the fuck out of here. Number two, I don't understand how we live in a world where both Scott Foster and Tony Brothers are still getting NBA Finals assignments. For Scott Foster, this is his 18th Finals, and for Tony Brothers, he's working at his 14th Finals. I think we can both agree those are two dog shit referees. Yet somehow, some way, these guys keep getting top games, keep blowing calls, keep being very obvious with their favoritism. Like, let's not forget, Scott Foster was the one who let James Harden get absolutely mauled in a game that we missed 27 straight threes, and Harden was fouled on like 12 of them. This guy inserts himself into basketball games in a way that you cannot deny it. And the NBA just goes, okay, yeah, we'll see. Book your ticket. You're going to go to Indiana. Well, appreciate you. Appreciate the hard work, Tony. We need you out there. It's a slap in the face to basketball fans, Scott, is what it is. That, like, we don't understand what you're doing, or we don't know basketball enough to know that this guy's a dog shit referee. When anybody who watches any amount of basketball games, when Scott Foster or Tony Brothers has a whistle in their hand, and you're like, this game's not flowing right tonight.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier. You can market any team. There are stories. I mean, you look at this Rocket squad. I mean, how many guys could you market absolutely on this Rockets team? You can, you mentioned any, like the Timberwolves. You could market, Minneapolis is obviously not a big city in of itself. But to sit there and go like, in the Eastern Conference Finals, I sure hope New York wins, because if they don't, we're screwed. No, you're not. Halliburton won how many games this postseason in the last second? Well, I think 4.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable.
Now, I mean, obviously he's had some games where things haven't gone well, but he's a guy that if the game is close, you're going to keep your eye on him because he's clutch. And the same thing with Alexander is obviously the MVP of the league. I think Jokic is the best player in basketball. And I don't think it's particularly close, but Alexander is legitimately a great basketball player.
Yeah, great year.
And that team had a great year. What, they win 67, 68 games?
Yeah. And if the city sucks that bad, why do they have a team? If you can't do anything with this city, why did you put an NBA franchise there? Like that, it's either the city is good enough to have a franchise, which means you can market them, or they're not. Like it's really that simple.
And the thing is that if you have a 67, 68 win team, what has there been? 3 or 4 teams have won more games in the regular season? in history.
Not many, yeah.
I think the Warriors once, the Bulls once. Yeah, I mean, maybe a Celtics team back in the 60s.
I was thinking the Celtics might have had one, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why Silver Scumbag of the Week. All right. We didn't have a show last week because I was out. I was on vacation. It was mostly a vacation. I did have some time to check on our aquatic kangaroos while we were down there. Okay, this was a beach vacation. I got a little bit of work in. Okay, we had some technical difficulties last week, but we did mention we had some of our first set of donations come in. Okay, we have a corporate sponsor from Dickens Cider. Okay, we're really, really excited about that. Professor Weiser has come aboard. Professor Bud, his first name is Bud Weiser, has come aboard to help join the research team. I think it's it's Hawk. What's his first name? Dr. Hawk. Mike Hawk. Dr. Mike Hawk has joined the team as well. And hey, we haven't lost any kangaroos in the past 2 weeks. So things are really moving in a good direction. We're bringing this great staff aboard like Dr. Hawk and Dr. Weiser. We've got the corporate sponsorship from Dickens Cider. Things are moving in a great direction for financing aquatic kangaroo exploration, okay? And I really need our listeners to start sending us money.
Individual donations are the key. I mean,
we got a grassroots campaign.
We got $1,000 from Buster Heine. And we got to thank him for that. We got $500. We were hoping for more from Haywood Jablomi. But thank you, Haywood, for that donation. I do have a question, though, Tim. And you're talking about going to Atlantis. We could expand if we get more donations to take a look at the Bermuda Triangle as well.
Yes. I mean, look, I just got literally breaking news as we came in. Professor A.S. Muncher has donated $125. So thank you very much, Professor Muncher. Amanda Lick also has made a donation to help us get there. But again, we have to find Atlantis first because obviously the Atlantean crystals that we would find there are needed to navigate through the Bermuda Triangle. Everybody knows that, Scott. You know that. Yeah. We have to get those Atlantean crystals for our navigation. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, okay? Amanda Poker came in with a $50 donation this week. Anita Dump, okay? Really thankful for Miss Dump for just giving us a big load of money, okay? But we need you, our listeners, at fake@gmail.com. Send us your money. Send us funds.
I don't know. Did you hear that we got legal representation?
We do have
the attorney, the law firm of Dip, Ship, and Rhyme. They have agreed to represent us and the kangaroos.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a great spot. Okay, one last donation just came in from Mr. Bruce D. Koch. I'm sorry, I think it's pronounced Cock, actually. Bruce D. Koch. Thank you, Mr. Koch, for your generous donation. So a lot happening in the world of aquatic kangaroo exploration. But again, we need your money. The goal is $1 million. With that, you will get to see Atlantis with us. Okay, we really, really want to bring you down there with us to when we find these Atlantean crystals. All right, folks, that's it. We appreciate everybody who joined us. We appreciate everybody who's going to donate. You are going to donate. Don't forget about that. Hop on there. fake@gmail.com is the place to send your Venmo. Please send us money. We want your money to explore the ocean. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.